declare and decree in this season, I will submit to the voice of the Holy Spirit calling my name. I am walking in the fullness of His purpose and plan for me and my life. It is my...
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of She Emerged with your host, me, Shalimar Cherie. I hope you all are doing well. I pray that you all are having a blessed day as we approach Christmas, which I'm excited about. I think we're about 10 days away as of today. Today, we're going to finish up the conversation we were having about launch the vision and launching your vision and walking in your vision and the purpose in your purpose. And so today I just want to explore with you 10 successful entrepreneurs who went from nothing to something, who didn't allow their present situation, the situation that they were in before they decided to move forward and launch their vision, to stop them from launching the vision. And this is more to inspire you. I can't stress enough. When you research people and you study people, do not study them to copy them. Study them to be inspired by them, to glean from them. Maybe there's something about their process that could help you in your process. So it's always good to study those who have gone before you, who have kind of paved the way and opened some doors, but still make your vision personal to you. Don't try to mimic someone else's success, because what's for them is for them and what's for you is for you. So this list are people that I just want you to kind of think on it and maybe take some inspiration from their process. So the first person on the list is John Paul DeJoria. Now I pray I'm saying his name right. I'm probably not. He partnered with John Paul Mitchell in 1980 to create Paul Mitchell Hair Care. Or he formed John Paul Mitchell because he partnered with Paul Mitchell, who was a hairdresser, in 1980. And he did this with a loan of just $700. And today he's worth $3.1 billion. I'll share with you his thoughts on his success. The biggest hurdle is rejection. Any business you start, be ready for it. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people do all the things the unsuccessful people don't want to do. When 10 doors are slammed in your face, go to door number 11 enthusiastically with a smile on your face. It sounds like wise words to me. There is a lot of truth in that statement. A lot of times we shy away from doing what we consider some things that are beneath us, things that we just don't find interesting or worthy of our time. But a lot of times those persistent people who do the things that we deem unworthy of our time are the ones that are pushing through and are successful because they're willing to make the sacrifice and do what needs to be done to get to where they are. John Paul DeJoria is entirely self-made. And his early life was not, he was not well off. He worked very hard. He was a truck driver, a janitor. He sold Christmas cards door to door. He got fired from his first job in hair care. And he worked for then a company called Redken Laboratories before he got to this partnership with Paul Mitchell. That's a lot of rejection, a lot of grunt work to come out on the other side and be worth $3.1 billion. How many of us will willingly work as a janitor to get to where we need to be? Not many of us. Some of us find, that type of employment not something desirable, unfortunately. But he did what he had to do to get to where he needed to be. And sometimes that means working an odd job, settling for a little bit less to make the process easier. And if a lot more of us would go on and just do that, we would find launching our visions and walking in our purpose a lot easier. You have to serve. You should always learn. A good leader knows how to serve and is always willing to serve, no matter what that means. Jesus met the people where they were. The woman at the well, he met them where they were. It's okay to get down in the mud a little bit. Now, that don't mean stay there, but you get down there to get yourself where you need to be, but make sure you get back up. And sometimes you have to meet yourself where you are in that moment. That is not just true of other people, but also of yourself. So there are days when I have to meet me where I am in my mental space. And I have to encourage myself, and I have to pull myself up out of the mud in order to be able to move forward and walk in the vision. This is not something that I'm making millions of dollars off of. It's not. It's a labor of love in hopes that I'm reaching somebody, I'm teaching somebody, and it's a service. And I'm okay with that. And wherever it leads me to, I'm okay with that because I've come into alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's just what it is. It's a choice. So if you want your vision, your business, your purpose to come to fruition, you are going to have to do some grunt work to get there. You're not just going to wake up and start at the top. You also have to be very focused and deliberate about what you're doing. That's why writing it down and knowing and understanding where you are supposed to be and how you're supposed to get there is important. You have to be steadfast on this journey. You have to be focused, and that's the easiest way to say it. You have to be focused and know exactly which direction you're going, and you cannot be all over the place. You have to, and even if you have multiple visions, some of us have multiple purposes. That's fine. You pick one, you develop them one at a time, and then you move forward in them. And as you develop them, they'll all grow, or maybe they won't, or maybe they're meant to to sow into one of the bigger visions or your bigger purpose. But you won't know that until you start focusing and developing the one. And don't rush. It's not a race. It takes time. It takes time to kind of get there. So our number 2 is Jan Cohen. And again, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, but Jan Cohen is from the Ukraine, and he's an immigrant to the U.S., and he invented WhatsApp in 2009. He was born into poverty, and he took an interest into computers. He did his research, he got himself educated, and he began working for Yahoo as an engineer. And he launched WhatsApp to create, he launched WhatsApp after buying his first smartphone and having the idea for the product. So it was stimulated from somewhere, but he knew early on what he should have been doing, and he took the proper steps and followed a process to get there. And it didn't matter. He wanted it to be a national app. And I'm sure that took a lot of work and development. And he developed this app, and it became really popular. We all use WhatsApp. I have WhatsApp. It's a great communication tool. And then Facebook bought it for $19 billion. I mean, there's nothing more that you can say to that. He went through the process. He pulled himself up from poverty. He did what he needed to do, and had to clearly have been dedicated to his vision, and it made him $19 billion. Listen, you can have this platform for $19 billion. I'll create another one. But that, I think, was really dope. And his top tip was do one thing and do it well. Focus on that one thing and do it well. Be steadfast in whatever it is you choose to, whatever was given to you, whatever you believe is your purpose and your vision. You have to be steadfast and deliberate in that. And I can't stress that enough. One thing at a time, and God will make room for the rest of your gifts. Number 3, Howard Schultz. He is the founder of Starbucks. Okay, who don't like coffee? Because I do. Okay, and I like Starbucks. It's a little strong, but I really do love Starbucks. And he is synonymous with entrepreneurial success. But he came from nothing. His family didn't have a lot of money. He grew up in a housing estate, which is the equivalent to the projects. He paid for college with government loans and money earned from part-time jobs. He was also the first person in his family to go to college. He worked for a coffee company, and he was inspired to create his own brand. He visited a branch of the new company in Seattle, and after he joined the company as the marketing director, he left Starbucks and decided to open his own coffee house. He raised $500,000 he needed to open the first store, started his business, and 2 years later, the original Starbucks management decided to sell its retail unit to Schultz, and Starbucks, as we know it today, was born. So he started out working for the original Starbucks, worked his way up, did the grunt work, got his money right, and Starbucks, the original Starbucks, ended up selling it to him. He then took it and made it his own. And today he's worth $2.9 billion. Not bad for something he dreamed up over a cup of coffee. He was inspired and he moved forward. So, for his story, it was a different way to launch his vision. It was a different way for him to bring his purpose to fruition. And he followed all the steps. He started at the bottom and he worked his way up. And his philosophy, his approach to life, I believe life is a series of near misses. A lot of what we ascribe to luck is not luck at all. It's seizing the day and accepting responsibility for your future. It's seeing what other people don't see and pursuing that vision. That's a powerful statement. I mean, there are a lot of powerful statements in here that these people are giving. But I definitely can identify with that because not everybody is going to see or understand your vision. Not everybody is going to agree with that. I've said that before. But here we have somebody that's worth $2.9 billion telling you the exact same thing. Because I'm sure when he said that his vision was to build a coffee business and to buy the business that he worked for, somebody around him thought he was crazy. Like it's only coffee. How successful could you really be? Well, have you seen the line to Starbucks? I mean, I drive past my local Starbucks and the line is literally out down the highway. People line up and sit in that line for excess of 30 minutes to get a cup of coffee. He dreamed bigger and envisioned bigger than probably everybody around him encouraged him to do. And it got him to where he needed to be. So, we have to be mindful of that as we move forward in our vision. And don't share it with everybody. Everything ain't for everybody. Not everybody around you is going to be receptive. Remember, we spoke about reception and perception. Not everyone is going to be receptive to your vision because it's not for them. And so sometimes you just have to keep certain things to yourself and work on and do the work until they come to pass. Oprah Winfrey. Now, we all know Oprah's story. She's very candid about who she is, who she was, and how she got to where she is. One thing I've heard people say is, I wish I was Oprah. I want to be. No, you don't. No, you don't. Her struggles ain't your struggles. And what's for her is for her. Oprah suffered a lot to get to where she is. She was raised in poverty in Mississippi. She was born in Mississippi. I'm sorry. She was raised in the inner city of Milwaukee. She was assaulted by her uncle, I believe. She was fired from one of her very first jobs. She worked in radio. By 19, she was a co-anchor of a local evening news, and then she became a daytime talk show host, and then went on to launch her own production company. By 2000, she had a net worth of $800 million. But look at her path to get there. It was not easy. She suffered a lot. And her vision was really built and founded on her traumas and what she could speak to. And that was her purpose and her promise. And by 2014, she hit in excess of $2.9 billion. She aligned her work with her passion. She wanted to talk and reach people in that way. And she pursued that. And no matter what stumbling block got in her way, getting fired, family trauma, she didn't allow that to stop her. She used it to propel her to the next level. She gave a speech at the Golden Globes, and she said, "The single greatest wisdom I think I've ever received is that the key to fulfillment, success, happiness, and contentment in life is when you align your personality with what your soul actually came to do. I believe everyone has a soul and their own personal spiritual energy. When you use your personality to serve whatever that thing is, you can't help but be successful." There's not really much more I can say to that. If your personality doesn't fit your passion, it's not going to work. You're not going to be happy. It won't be a labor of love. It'll just be a labor. You have to love what you do in order to be good at it. Otherwise, you're just showing up and doing whatever. She was passionate about her choices and her vision, and it aligned with her personality to do just that. And it came to fruition. It worked for her. Number 5. Do Wan Chang. So Wan Chang is not a household name, but his fashion chain Forever 21 is. My daughter shopped there. I shopped there. They have the cutest little clothes that you could ever, and they're reasonable, cost effective. It's a great store. But before he launched that in 1984, he worked as a janitor. He worked at a gas station. He worked in a coffee shop when he first moved to America from South Korea. The first store he opened with his wife was only 900 square feet in LA. It opened with only $11,000 in savings, and they plugged it all into their business. The shop was called Fashion 21 originally. And customers mainly came from the Korean American community. But after that, he changed it to Forever 21, obviously, and the business grew. Internationally, he has 790 stores, and he's worth $3.2 billion. That's a heck of a leap to go from a janitor, a gas station attendant, and working in a coffee shop. He fought for his dream. He fought for his vision. He fought for what fit him, what he knew was for him on the inside. His top tip: never forget where you come from. Forever 21 gives hope and inspiration to people who come here with almost nothing. The fact that immigrants coming to America, much like I did, can come into a Forever 21 and know that all of it was started by a simple Korean immigrant with a dream. That is inspiration at its finest. He came here with nothing. He worked, he did the grunt work. He started at the bottom, doing jobs that often no one wants to do, and turned that into an empire. Number 6, Ralph Lauren. Now, we all know who Ralph Lauren is. The cute little polo bear. He graduated high school in the Bronx. He dropped out of college, joined the Army, worked as a sales assistant at a menswear store, Brooks Brothers. And then he began something in him stirred, because why? When you're doing something that you love, and it stirs the vision on the inside. And so he was inspired, like, you know what, I could do this while working for someone else who was in a similar business. And he aligned his interest with his vision, what he was passionate about, men's clothing. He was ready for something more colorful, and he started out with ties. So in 1967, he decided to try running his own business, and he started selling ties. In the first year, he sold $500,000 worth of merchandise. In the following year, he used that money to create Polo. The Ralph Lauren Corporation is now a global multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and he's a household name. He works with A-list models, and he is worth $7.2 billion. He was the 91st richest person in America in 2018, based on Forbes. Again, started in the bottom of a company or in a lesser role at a company, and was inspired and took that time to work on his own vision, and it grew. His advice to anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur: you have to create something from nothing. The world is open to us, and each day is an occasion to reinvent ourselves. We are ever evolving. So it doesn't matter where you are. That doesn't mean you have to stay there. You're going to evolve. It's inevitable. How you evolve is up to you. Number 7, Sophia Omoruso. She is the founder of Nasty Gal. She began her empire by scouring the racks at secondhand stores and selling her vintage finds on eBay. She used the money for her sales to move her stock into a warehouse and used MySpace. I'm going to tell my age. I was on MySpace. Like, that's how long, that's how old using social media. This woman propelled herself by using social media. And when we had MySpace, it wasn't nearly as complicated and didn't have as many functions as Facebook. So she used MySpace and other social media platforms to attract customers. In 2016, her net worth was $280 million. As a young adult, though, she lived like a nomad. She hitchhiked to the West Coast. She ate food from bins, saved to make ends meet. She lost half of her fortune, but her star is still rising. She continues to evolve her personal brand, focusing on a best-selling memoir and a coffee table book. She's also going to have a Netflix series called Girl Boss. But to go from hitchhiking and eating out of garbage cans and, bins to save money, and she used what she had, what she had access to get what she needed. She went to different thrift shops, found different rare pieces, out of the ordinary pieces, and used social media to propel her brand. $280 million later. Her advice: everyone has a different personality in the workplace. By bringing your best self and not letting the small things sway you, that will allow you to keep rolling ahead in work and in life. Bring your best self. The best you that you are in the moment, in the present, because we are ever evolving. So you won't stay there, and it's okay. But as long as you are being true to yourself and you're bringing the best of you and putting your best foot forward every time you step up to that plate, every time you walk through the work doors, every time you sit down to work on your craft, every time you sit down to write something down pertaining to it, it'll work out in the end. Next, we have number 8, and he's one of my favorites, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. So everybody should know Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They started Apple Computers in a garage. They pulled out from their respective college courses. They dropped out of school and began developing consumer computer devices. They used the skills that they had to nurture their vision. They worked out a plan and they moved forward with it. And it was also a leap of faith because they pulled out of college. They left their college classes. They didn't know if this was going to work. So it was also a faith walk as well as doing the grunt work. And they used, and their workspace was a garage, was Steve's parents' garage. Steve worked at a lot of low paying jobs, Hewlett Packard. He developed a couple of different models with Mr. Wozniak, and then they knew they would need more financing. And they secured a loan. But again, that took work. They got their credit together. They had a business plan, because when you go to a bank, you have to have a business plan. So that means they did the research. They did the work. When he passed away, Steve, in 2011, he was said to be worth $10.2 billion from a garage. College dropout. He did the work. He wrote it down. He had a business plan. He had a plan, period. He had $1 million to his name in 1978 when he was 23. And as far as his legacy, we're all walking around with it. I have an iPhone. I have an iPad. I have the Apple. I use the AirPods, the pencil. He didn't just launch his vision. He launched a vision that would create a legacy, generational wealth. And he didn't let anything hold him back. His advice: sometimes life is going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. That is hilarious, because yes, it's going to hit you in the head with a lot of bricks and throw a lot of lemons your way. Now, what you do with those bricks, either you're going to take those bricks and build a strong foundation and take those lemons and build some lemonade, or you're just going to lay down and take it. I agree. Good job, Steve. That was a good one. Richard Branson, number 9. He is a British businessman, and he is a synonymous entrepreneur. He came from a very humble beginning. And at one point he believed that he was the dumbest person in school. How many of us struggle with self-esteem and mental health? He did the work, though. He did the work at feeling better about himself and getting his mental health in order and encouraging himself. And then he did the grunt work to build his brand. The first time he attempted a business was by founding a student magazine in 1966. It was boring to him, and his idea was too revolutionary. So he was operating in a time where people weren't really ready for what he had to offer. And sometimes when you're ahead of time or ahead of your time, you gotta just find a different way to spoon feed the people what you're trying to give them. Sometimes you got to slow walk people into the future. And so he created a space that would allow fresh and new content for students, for a student audience. He was shorted cash. He happened to inherit some money, about $1,500, and he was able to pay his bills and keep his publication going. He is now the founder of such brands including Virgin Records, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Money, and his last venture, Virgin Galactic. And he believes will be the first space tourism company. So he is the guy that is trying to create the spaceship to take average folks up into space. Great idea that I'm a little uncomfortable with, though. I don't know if I want to go out into the stratosphere yet, but however, he's still dreaming. He's still vision. His vision is still big. He's not boxed himself in. He could have boxed himself in when he started the first magazine, and he, put all that effort into tweaking it and making it palatable for people who weren't yet ready for his vision in full. But he didn't. He didn't box himself in. He went from the magazine to the record company, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And today he's worth $4.2 billion. We talked about not getting boxed in. We talked about thinking outside of the box and the evolution of the vision. He's a prime example of the evolution of a vision. So he went from a magazine to all these other ventures, and because he didn't get boxed in. So he says he often received letters from startups saying, I need X amount of money to get started. This is what he's saying today. But he believes this is not the way to start. So people send him letters all the time asking him to fund their business and support their business. And there's no shame in that, because listen, if you're going to offer me something, I'm going to take it if it's right for me, because all money ain't good money. Let's be clear about that. But that's a whole other conversation. And he says he receives a lot of money from startups asking for money. But for him, he doesn't believe that this is a way to start. His direct quote is, "There's no doubt it can be easier to achieve lofty ambitions if you already have financial backing. But in many cases, you don't need lots of money to start a business. Rather than commit to the pricey premise you can set up online with no technical expertise, using a website builder and start selling from your kitchen table." And he is correct. Plus, the rising finance to start a business from a bank has gained a reputation for being difficult. But today you can bypass this altogether with things that are dedicated to helping entrepreneurs launch, such as crowdfunding or startup loans. We didn't need lots of money to start our first business, and that's even truer today than it was back then. That is the truth. There are so many free and low cost tools and options out there to help you grow your small business. You just have to be willing to, again, do the grunt work and be okay with starting from the bottom. I said this in the last episode. I recorded my first episode of this video blog and podcast with free tools. Cost me $10 with what I had. And it grew from there. And as it grows, yes, my equipment grows because it's called evolution. But what I started with, I used what I had. What I had didn't stop me. I took it and used it, thought outside of the box, did the research, and I was able to build what I have. And it's still building. I am at over 500 downloads of the podcast, 25 episodes in. And that's an amazing accomplishment for somebody who doesn't have, I don't have a studio. I'm in my home. But I created the space and the time and dedicated myself to what I believe is my vision and my calling, my purpose, and took what I had in that moment and moved forward. It is possible. Am I rich today? No. But I'm accomplishing my vision. And all things in time. I'm believing God for that millionaire status. But I'm in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to be consistent and dedicated to my vision and do the work. So that was right on time. Number 10, Sam Walton. He is the founder of Walmart. And one of the biggest, which is one of the biggest superstores in the U.S. He had returned to private life after serving the Army when he opened his first retail store in 1945. His father-in-law lent him $25,000, which was used to buy his first store, and he became an immediate success. He believed in his vision, and his family and people who supported him clearly believed in his vision. Now, is that going to be true for all of us? Absolutely not. But I believe God always sends us what we need, be it in the form of cash, support, skills, tools, knowledge, whatever. However, God will get you to where you need to be. You just have to trust the process. Today, he is worth more than $176 million. And Walmart is valued at $176 million and has more than 11,000 stores. And it has an operating income of $21 billion, and that was in 2019. His tip for success, and he wrote a book. I'm not, if everybody else is doing it one way, there's a good chance you can find your niche by going in exactly the opposite direction. That being said, everything that you do has to be unique to you. That's why it's okay to read about these people, glean from them a little bit, take the best part for yourself, but always make what you do your own. Don't try to follow in anybody else's footsteps, because what's for them is for them. So he went in the opposite direction of what he saw, what he was presented with. Whatever stirred that vision on the inside of him, he took the best parts of his environment for himself, and he moved forward in what was personal to him. He made his vision personal to him. And today we have Walmart. So there you have it. Those are 10 successful entrepreneurs that started with little to nothing, that took the leap of faith on themselves and moved forward in their vision. And today, after years of hard work and dedication, They're where they need to be and are still evolving, because everybody on that list is still evolving. They have to, because their businesses are still growing. So although they've reached a certain height, they're still growing and they're still evolving. So you have to know that you're still going to grow and you're still going to evolve. Don't rush it. It may not be in the speed and time that you want it to be, but it'll come. And I wanted to share those with you so that you have some points of reference for people that have done it, so that you can see that it is possible. I hope you are encouraged and empowered by that list a little bit. Now, regardless to what you may feel about some of those people on the list personally, that ain't my business. But I can take the best part of what they've done and what they've said for myself, as long as it doesn't compromise my integrity, which is fine. But you can learn from just about anybody, good, bad, or indifferent. Do your research. Do your research. Study. There are tools out there. There are a lot of free to low cost tools. And don't be afraid to do the grunt work. Don't be afraid to get down in the mud, roll around a little bit. Don't stay there, and then pull yourself up sometimes. And listen, you may be able to reach back and pull some other people up. So that's my spiel for today. And that will cap off this 3-part series on launching the vision. If I have any more information to share with you, we may revisit it again in the new year. I want to inspire you to walk into this new year with a fresh perspective and a new vision for yourself and for your life, and a new direction. Don't just make the resolution to make the resolution. Make the resolution to walk in it. Get in alignment with your purpose. Get in alignment with your vision, and understand the power that lives in you. Be okay with your abilities where they are, and know that they will evolve. You were not made to just sit in one spot. We wouldn't grow. We would still be children if we didn't grow and evolve. And that same is true, just not for our physical, but for our mental, emotional, and intellectual. Do you absolutely need a college degree to be successful? No, you don't. That college degree does not dictate your success. There are plenty of people who have college degrees that aren't even operating in their field of study. There are a lot of opportunities for you to be your own boss. Take them. Technology has opened the doors for us to have access to more things, and given us a bigger playing field. There's more watchful eyes and listening ears, and your audience is now broader because you have access. Use that access. Give yourself permission to be great, and move in that. Write the vision, make it plain, follow the directive, and be consistent. You can do it. You're capable. You are worthy. You are loved. And I can't wait to see what you all do. Launch the vision. Move forward. As always, I shout out a few people. So if you have a business that you would like me to showcase, you can shoot me an email at sheis@savedhealedenough.com. And I will, if it aligns and is a good business, I'll add you to my sister spotlight. If you are looking for vendors, if you go to my website, www.savedhealedenough.com, click on sister spotlight, and I have a host of small businesses and vendors, people that have launched the vision and are doing it and doing it well. Their services range from health and beauty to authors to catering to entertainment, you name it. I've found it and I've listed it, and these businesses are really dope. Check out some of my sisters and their books. Lisa Tate Stevenson at www.lisavtatestevenson.org to catch her latest book, Have You Ever Heard a Butterfly Cry? My other sister, Tamita Brockington, and her book, Marriage is Not a Fairy Tale, at TamitaBrockington.wixsite.com. Her book is also available. My first written work is now available on Amazon and a few other platforms, as well as my website. She Emerged, The Manifestation of Me, both my books, and She Emerged, The Guided Journal. You can get them, like I said, on Amazon or at www.savedhealedenough.com. If you want to check out my podcast, it is available on all digital platforms that have podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google. I think it's now available on Alexa, Audible. Be on the lookout because I will be turning my book into an audio book. I'm excited about that. And I got some new things coming in the new year that I'm going to be excited to share with you all. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see all these visions come to life. I'm rooting for you. You are loved. You are capable. You are worthy. And as always, the sun rises and sets alone every day and still manages to shine. The moon rises alone every night and still manages to light someone's way. Be the light. Be your own version of the light, but be the light.
Reaping season, and I shall reap the harvest of my labor as promised. I have been called. I am a willing vessel.